Welcome to the brand new module of Azure DevOps. What we're going to learn is we're going to get started with Azure DevOps account and how you could use the free trial version of Azure DevOps and get your hands dirty onto some of the cool features which Azure DevOps has in store. So if you have your Microsoft account just like me, well and good. If you don't have, if you have any got any of your GitHub account, since GitHub is now part of Microsoft, so you could use that as well. I'm already using my Outlook account, so I'm logged into it. As soon as you logged in, you would see bunch of options available over here: project, organization. So what are these? So organization is the top level hierarchy. Now let's suppose you have a client google.com, you have fictitious, don't quote me on this, but any client xyz.com, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna create that client right over here, and underneath that organization you could have multiple projects, one with Azure DevOps, one with infra, marketing, developer, testing team, and support team. All those sort of projects you could maintain under your Azure DevOps. So first thing first, we're going to create our organization. Gonna hit on the new organization and continue. All right, so I'm gonna give it a name, probably DevOps Shan Limited, and I'm gonna enter the. So I've got my organization ready right over here. It's created. As soon as you create the organization, it asks you to create a project. Now project is where you hold everything about your project. Now it could be about the repositories where your code's going to be sitting into, the processes like the agile, scrum, or CMI, or basic, the kanban boards, workflow, work items, bugs, features, everything related to the project going to be sitting onto this project. You could have multiple projects, and that's what we're gonna do. So the first project I'm gonna create is Azure DevOps, with the project type as private or public. Now what is that? So user who haven't got the account, your organization account, and you could give them, you want to give them access to the project. So this is beneficially when you have an open source project and you want everybody and anybody to contribute and view the details about your project. You would select the public, and once you only want users, few specific users working inside your organization to access the project, you would create a private. So 99% of the time you would create a private project. Hit on the create project, and as soon as you create a project, on the left hand side you would see bunch of new features, overview, summaries, wiki, dashboard, boards, repos, pipeline, test plan, and artifact. Don't worry about it, we're gonna them go to them one by one. So as soon as you come to the Azure DevOps organization, you would see that the project has been created. Now you could create multiple projects as well. Suppose you've got infrastructure team, you could create infrastructure. Beg your pardon for the spelling. This is a space for infra team to write infrastructure as code. Give it a private type and create it, and you would see that you would have one more project right underneath the organization. So you've got infrastructure and Azure DevOps. Likewise, you could create multiple projects right over here. So if you hit on the Azure DevOps, and what we're going to talk about is boards. We're going to talk so anything you about your project. So we're going to get started with the work item. What are work items? Work items, anything your project has got. How do you manage your bugs? How do you add defects? How do you progress certain stories or certain work being assigned to any users? How do you keep a track of those things? If somebody needs to look at it, what team is kind of working on, how do you manage those type of activities? So Azure board is the place, and work item is where you create the cards and the type of work, the work which is being done by the developers, BAs, project owners, infrastructure testers, everything. So as soon as you go ahead and create the work items. I think one thing we forgot or didn't cover was if you go to the advanced setting while creating the project, you get bunch of features right over here in the process. So what are this? So underneath the process, which defines the building block of the work item tracking system, which you were going to be doing. So these work items are basic, agile, CMMI, and Scrum, and all of them has different types. So agile is the one wherein when your team uses agile planning or methods, including keeping a tracks of the developer development. This process works great if you want to track user stories, bugs on the Kanban board. You can always use that. Then you've got the Scrum when you practice when your team practices Scrum, especially great to track product backlogs, bugs on the Kanban board. And then you've got the CMMI, which requires a framework for process improvement and auditable records of your decision. Then you've got your basic chooses your team chooses the basic, which is the simplest model that uses issues, task, epics to track your work item. So if you don't select anything, you get to select the basic one, and that's what we've done. And as soon as you go to the work item underneath the boards, from here you should be able to track your work item. Now what type of work item it is, whether it's an epic, issues, or task. So I'm gonna start with the epic. Now this epic is um, as soon as you hit on the epic or any type of work items, it asks you enter the title. So I'm gonna say create a login page for my application for the web app. Let's suppose you're creating a web application for one of your client and you want to get started with the login uh, page, and the state is to do at the moment, and the reason is it's added to the backlog. We've got area as well, and we've got bunch of tags are basically the labels used to can be used to query your Azure Devops work items, and then you can pull out different work items basis on the tags. So I'm gonna give them as a dev tag, and gonna give them another tag as inception, because this is the very beginning of our project. So I'm call them as inception. That's pretty much all. And then you can add the description right over here. This story or this task is used to track the work on login page, and then you can start the discussion as well. You would see that it has got a rich text editor, so which means you could uh, tag users as well, aks devops, what was the user, aks devops Sean, yeah. And if I don't spell it, so you could always use the at the rate sign and add user right over here, and it's going to auto populate. And then you could let the user know that uh, please start working on this ASAP. And you could use the rich text editor, use some sort of bold to be submitted to the board by EOD. And then you can always use the rich text editor to bulletize it or to bold it and add certain reaction as well. I'm not going to do that, and hit save. You've noticed that this user was being l- let know about what's gonna be done onto this particular work item, and then you could add the reaction as well. We are starting a new project with a celebration sign. Then you've got the priority 1 2 3 4, whatever you want to select. If it's a great priority, you can give it a day one, a priority one, and then you can give it a start date and the target date to finish, to track your work as well. You would see over here you've got a history tab. Since we haven't got much, it's just added to the backlog and given it a to do, and that's what we have done. Over here you could link an existing task as well, or a new item as well. Since we haven't got any existing task, this is our first task. We're gonna use a link and then create an issue. Please refer to Google Firebase for login. And then you're going to create OK. This new issue has been created underneath the task, underneath the work items created log item. So you've got your task, one nested task underneath the create a login for web app, and then you could add multiple tasks as well. Just click on the add link, and if you have already got an existing one, which we don't have, you could use that, just like start adding the work item right over here, or you could create a new one with the new item. Then go to the attachment, and you could attach any type of screenshots, architecture diagram, anything right over here. You could use the follow button right over here as well. Anything happens to this particular card or work item, whatever you want to say, you will be notified. Anybody changes the state, anybody add any comment, anything, it's been assigned to some users, I'm going to assign it to myself, and you will be notified. And you've got a toggle right over here about the notification, not subscribed, custom, you only want to get notified when the state changes, and you hit OK, and it's gonna let you say that it's following, and hit save. And that's about it. You have just created your first work item, and that was the work item. So you could create multiple work items just like the one you've created right over here. You could create an issue as well. Now the issue is another type of work item in your basic system. There was an issue logging into the Linux server. You want to assign to one of the user, add a comment that please see the SSH connection, add a description, probably acceptance criteria, which is kind of definition of done. When do you accept this issue or work item to be done? When I am able to SSH. And yeah, priority efforts is like the story pricing or story sizing, whether it's a Fibonacci series or a t-shirt sizing, and I want to effort how much time is gonna take to complete this particular work item. And the same scene again, you can create the link, add a task as well, a new item or a task, and then hit on save button, and that's going to create an issue for you. If you go to the work item, you would be able to see that it has come right over here. So if I go right over here into my issue, I haven't added any tags. So what we could do is we could add a tag right over here and give it a tag as infra, probably infra, and yeah, infrastructure and support. Alright, so I'm gonna add the tag right over here as infrastructure, hit save, and now you could use these tags in your query. So if you go to the queries on the left hand side, you could use these queries to create certain rules and then get data right from there. So you're going to create a rule wherein the field says tags, contains, it's going to list all the tags. Intra, and if you run this tag, it's going to give you all the stories which has intra tag into it. And you could use certain other options as well, like the work item type contains epic, and run the query again. Probably delete this one and run again, and you've got the epic one. And then you could save the query and save it for later and run again. Epic sample, hit OK, and yeah, that's how you could use the query to fetch your work items or anything basis on your tags. Alright, that's about how the work item kind of works. So anything you want to store on your board, be it how do you manage the bugs, defects, progress, workflow. You want to make sure that your issues, features, and epics are logged in. You want to make sure that you want to track how your users or developers are kind of working. You want to see how the workflow kind of works, how you could link up your existing task or create a new task into already work item as well, and you could always assign those work items to user as well, and then add tags right over there and have some comments with a rich text editor. And yeah, that's pretty much all. I hope this was informative. I'm going to see you in the next video. Thank you.